A big division rivalry game on Monday night is upon us. 49ers versus Rams. We're definitely going to break that down. We have a very, very special guest, and we're going to get his takes on some troubling trends this season with the 49ers. Keep it locked. Stay tuned. Here we go. What is up, fam? Thank you so much for tuning in to So Real Sports Talk TV. I am your host, So Real Sunil, and we got a very, very special guest, one of the OGs in the game, as you can tell from his setup, the host of Niners Sickness Podcast, my friend, Beto. Bro,
What's
Beto, this
up?
is the first time. Bro, this is the first time I've had you on the show. I don't know if you recognize the intro video, but you made that for me, my friend. Thank you so much. I get to actually thank you face to face on the show.
I appreciate that, bro. Thank you for the love, man. Thank you for inviting me on your show. I'm super excited to come talk 49er football. Love the overlay. Kudos to Jesse Naylor for hooking you up, man. The dude has talent. Love that guy. Love what you're doing, brother. And real quick, I just want to congratulate you. 1K. You're the 1K member. Man, you have come up so fast. I wouldn't be surprised hitting 2Ks pretty soon, brother.
Hey, man, let's hope. If God wants it, it'll happen. But I appreciate, the obviously there's goals to monetize and be able to make some money off of the passion of the 49ers and talking shop. But the amount of friendships I've been able to create with guys like you, guys like Jesse, you mentioned it, Jesse hooked it up with the overlay. You hooked it up with the intro video. So it's like, it's just like everybody combining to help each other out. And that's more valuable than any amount of money that may come from these streams. But, I appreciate it, man. It's definitely a big deal for me. But to start out, the reason why I brought you on, Beto, not only do you have one of the nicest setups of any 49er fan in the world, but you do know a lot about this team. You've been a fan for how many years do you think you've been a fan of this team?
Man, I started in 78.
Okay. So you got to see this team in multiple different time periods, right? In the 70s, not great. 80s, obviously amazing. And then the 90s, okay. But, and then we've seen the ups and downs of the 2000s, the 2010s, 2020s, right? So I really wanted to pick the historic brain of you as a 49er fan. And the thing that I wanted to start out with is the troubling trends of this team. So I want to list some stats for you about this team, Beto, and I want to kind of have you put it in perspective because a guy like me looks at these trends and it's kind of scary to see where the team is, right now in Kyle Shanahan's sixth year. So obviously the season is young, right? We've only gone through three games, but we still have some stats to be able to talk about. So let's start with the 49ers offense. So this year, the 49ers offense is ranked 28th. Last year, Beto, they were ranked 13th. All right. This year, the 49ers drives have averaged 5.5 plays per drive for a total of 28 yards and scoring 1.34 points per drive. Last year, they were closer to 6 plays per drive, 35 yards, so a whole 7 yards more per drive, and nearly a whole point, 2.29 points per drive. Now let's flip that to the defense. Last year, the defense was ranked 12th. This year, they're ranked second. Last year, the defense averaged giving up 6 plays per drive for 29 yards and around 1.95, so about 2 points per drive. This year, 5 plays per drive, 20 yards per play, so almost a full first down less, and only allowing 0.91 points, so less than a point per drive. So you can see that the defense has elevated their game and gotten better, and the offense has taken a big step back. And so when we look at that, Beto, I know some people are going to be like, well, Trey Lance, the offensive line, all of this kind of stuff. But the offense still has Jimmy Garoppolo, who's taken this team to a Super Bowl or been on the team while they went to the Super Bowl last year, NFC Championship game. They still have Debo. They still have Ayuk. They still have, Juszczyk. They still have, Trent Williams in the first 3 games, McGlinchey, still a lot of talent. And the defense actually lost Jimmy Ward. Ark Armstead hasn't played all of it. So it's like for some reason, the defense, even though they're losing really good players as well, they're able to still elevate their game, where the offense has lost a lot of steam. And a lot of people are just blaming like injuries and things like that. So tell me, Beto, should we read into those stats at all? Should we be, troubled by that? Or is this just kind of normal for this part of the season?
Well, based on last year, man, being in 3-5 when we faced the Rams on the Monday night game, coming off a loss to Arizona at home with their backup quarterback, there was concerns there as well, and people were kind of freaking out. 49er fans legitimately have the right to kind of freak out offensively side. A lot of people have questioned as Shanahan, is he ruining a good Super Bowl defense by the production of this offense? I started watching the Niners, Sunil, way before Bill Walsh and Joe Montana.
Right.
So when Bill Walsh came in, everybody knows Bill Walsh as a genius. A lot of his tree of coaches have been successful. The West Coast offense that was invented by Bill Walsh, I see that all that transcend on live TV. I've seen Joe Montana able to operate that offense that Bill Walsh wanted. Prior to Joe Montana, Bill Walsh could not get this offense started. He had trouble leading this offense. Once they drafted Montana, once Montana took over and never looked back, this offense completely changed. I believe that Kyle Shanahan is in the same boat. Trey Lance was the guy that he chose, that he wanted to tie with. Unfortunately, due to injury, that got set back. Jimmy Garoppolo was never the fix. He was never a quarterback that could take this team above and beyond the Super Bowl. He was always a plug-and-play quarterback for the time being. Kyle Shanahan needs a quarterback that he can work with, and I believe that's Trey. Excuse me. Now, fans are a little worried, okay, based on the production that we saw last week against the Broncos, which was terrible. A lot of it, I do believe that Jimmy, even though I'm not a big fan of Jimmy, the reality is that he's not in sync with his receivers. He's not flowing. If football is all about, are you in sync with your receivers? Are you guys on the same page? When the receiver cuts to the left, the ball has to be already up in the air. And a lot of that needs to be worked out. And the fact that Jimmy wasn't in training camp, Jimmy wasn't part of this team, because honestly, the Niners thought that he would have been gone this year. This offense was built around Trey. The offensive line was built around Trey. And now you lose Trey in week 2, Sunil, and now you're forced to go back to Jimmy G, who was out of shape, and expect him to get back to that playing quarterback that he was last year late in the season. So I will not set the alarm yet. I will not panic. I will not abandon ship quite yet. We've been through troubling times before. Sunil, we were 3-5 last year,
Right.
and they managed to get to the NFC Championship game. I believe this test against the Rams will be also an indicator of where we're at. Jimmy has another week of practices. Um, Jimmy's not the best quarterback, but I doubt that he'll have another bad game as he did against the Broncos. So, to your question and to the faithful watching the show, don't panic yet, guys. Hold on to keep your faith, remain faithful. The season is young. We're 1-2, but we're in a division that can easily be taken by us. I mean, Arizona's not really a threat. Um, Seattle is not a threat, and the only one that can compete with us or we can compete with them is the Rams. So we'll have a better idea come Monday night where we're at within our division.
Right, Beto, but I wanna stick here a little bit because I think there's validity to what you're saying. Obviously, not only is Jimmy G wasn't practicing with this team, he's also coming off of a shoulder surgery, so he has to get used to that. The continuity with this team is different, right? Because they were mostly Trey Lance was taking all the reps. Jimmy wasn't even taking reps with the team till the week one. But to have such a big drop off, going from 28th, going from 13th to 28th. Jimmy was the quarterback when they were the 13th ranked offense. Now they're the 28th ranked offense. That's a big drop off. And the reason why I'm putting it is in context. The defense went from 12th to 2nd. And really, the major addition has been Charvarius Ward, Beto. They lost DJ Jones. People thought, how are they going to replace DJ Jones? They lost K1. How are they going to replace K1, right? They lost Jaquaski Tart. How are they going to replace Tart? Jimmy Ward goes on IR at the beginning of the season. How are they going to replace? Why is the defense being able to solve all of these issues and elevate their game when we have an offensive genius in Kyle Shanahan that even though there has been some major losses, right, with Elijah Mitchell, now with Trey, I'm not saying that there's not injury, but why is on one side of the field they're able to overcome it and actually excel, where the other side of the field, not only are they not able to overcome it, they've basically dropped to being the bottom of the league as far as their ability. So explain to me, why is that? Can we just explain this away by circumstances and stuff that's out of our control? Or is there an underlying issue here that we really need to be paying attention to?
I'll get to the offense in a minute to your question. Defensively, I think the Niners have been very blessed in drafting very well in the later rounds to be able to accommodate players that had left on this defense. I mean, we lost KY, but we were able to replace him with Samuel Womack. Who would have thought that Samuel Womack would have stepped up and taken that spot and run with it? You bring in Charvarius Ward from free agency, an area that we lacked in. And one of the areas that the Niners lacked in very much last year was the secondary. We knew that we had a good front seven. It was just the lack of a corner that can keep up with the receiver. I mean, we were dealing with multiple different corners last year right off the street with Josh Norman and that kid from Cincinnati, and we were struggling in that area. And then the emergence of Hufanga this year, stepping up as safety. I mean, who would have thought that Ward has been out for four games, will be out for 4 games, and this safety with Gibson is top notch.
Right.
And D'Amico Ryans has been doing a great job. So the defense has went up. Their second place. The offense has gone down. And I know a lot of people are troubled by that, and they wonder: is it a coaching? Is it a roster? Is it a lack of communication? Are the players not wanting to play? And I think it's just a transition of Jimmy to Trent. I mean to Trey. and then going back from Trey back to Jimmy that has caught this offense out of whack. And then we made some big changes in that offensive line. So Neil, I mean, we had to replace Tomlinson with Banks. We had to bring in a new to us, but Jake Brundle as a starting center, and then we went with a rookie, which we hit on as well, and Spencer Buford. Who would have thought that when we drafted him, he would have been playing and starting for us because we would have to depend on Daniel Brunskill, and he's been hurt. Right. So the fact that you have the line that has been shifted, and then you have a situation where Kyle planned the whole season for Trey, and then week two Trey gets hurt. Now you're going back to Jimmy. That takes a blow. That takes a hit. So I think that's why the team right now offensively is jogging. The fact that they're trying to get back now to Jimmy versus Trey, and the defense has not. I mean, they lost a player here and there, but they were able to replace those players with players that can do that job. So I believe that the defense is in a different level than the offense. I'm not trying to make excuses for the offense, but I think also Kyle has to get out of his own head and coach better. He's very arrogant, in my opinion. It seems to me the first 20 strip plays that he starts playing, he's rolling hot. He's always moving the ball. And then after those script plays are done, now he has to deal with his pride. And it's like, and I hate that term, he goes with a hot hand, right? Mm-hmm. Kyle goes with a hot hand. Which running back is playing? The hot hand. Well, how do you know if Jordan Mason is not hot when you only give him the ball one time against the Broncos? He only touched it one time. How do you know if he's going to be hot or not? You don't know that.
Right. Beto, that's a great segue because I did want to get into Kyle Shanahan, right? So let's analyze this because he has been getting a lot of heat, I think, from portions of the fan base, maybe some in the media as well. There's portions of the fan base that felt like he didn't handle this quarterback situation very well this offseason. People are questioning his offensive genius prowess, his play calling ability, because, being considered an offensive genius and having the 28th ranked offense, that doesn't really jive together. And you've seen, a multitude of coaches over, your fandom with the 49ers. And to put it into perspective, at least for me, you have to put Kyle Shanahan in at least the top 4 coaches in 49ers, I guess, folklore, just because of the type of success that he's had, right? Obviously, Walsh is one, and then it's going to be however you want to play Seifert, Harbaugh, and Shanahan, because those 4 coaches were the only ones to take the team to a Super Bowl. Obviously, Seifert was able to win one. Harbaugh and Shanahan weren't able to win that game, but they've been to multiple NFC Championship games. They've been to a Super Bowl, so you would still have to put them up there. But there are a lot of people that question whether Shanahan is the right fit right now for this team. You've mentioned his arrogance. Some people like me, I feel like I'm a Shanahan stan, so I think I would hate to lose him. But I want to get your opinion. One, where would you place Shanahan as far as where he would fit in the ranking of coaches for the 49ers? And then let's get your heartfelt analysis of him, pros and cons, as far as the coach.
Man, there's a lot of cons, but there's a lot of pros that oversurpass. I am not with getting firing Shanahan. I think a lot of times we as fans get spoiled. We start seeing a lot of good plays, and then when things don't go right away, we want to take action and we want to go to the extreme. Fire Shanahan. Okay. If we fire Shanahan, who are we going to replace Shanahan with?
Right.
That's something that people choose not to really think about. Well, Sean Payton, he's not going to coach this year. And I don't believe that he's a better coach, personally. Mm-hmm. So who are you going to bring in one? People tend to forget We had the Mike Nolans. We had the Mike Secretaries. We
Yeah.
had all these bad coaches in the past. And when you mentioned four, Steve Marucci was a good coach as well, but he
Uh-huh.
didn't take a team to the Super Bowl. So you mentioned Bill Walsh, Seifert, Harbaugh,
Harbaugh. Hmm.
and Shanahan. Only out of all the coaches that have coached the 49ers team, only four names stick out. That's because they have made an impression on this team. Yes, Harbaugh could not get over the hump, and neither so far hasn't Shanahan. Real quick, I know JVC says Ken Dorsey, but Ken Dorsey is a first-time offensive uh, play caller for the first time. He has really no experience. Do you really want? See, we want Ken
Grass always
Dorsey.
looks greener, right? Grass
Yeah,
always looks greener.
we always want Ken Dorsey because we don't have him right now. We know
Right.
what we know where we're at with the Shanahan. So what happens if Ken Dorsey comes and he's a bust? He's a total failure. And we let go of Shanahan. Shanahan goes to another team and exceeds. Now what? You know what I mean? So like you said, that grass always looks green on the other side. The reality is I've seen a lot of bad coaching in my time as a Niner fan. Yes, Kyle Shanahan's arrogant. Yes, he makes some judgment calls. Yes, he blows leads. He's too conservative at times. But you can't, I think personally, you got to remove Kyle Shanahan from the box of head coach and offensive coordinator. As a head coach, I question Shanahan. As an offense coordinator, I do not. I think he's a great call player. He calls great plays. If the players can execute, everything seems to run well. As a head coach, that's when we run into the problem with Shanahan. He gets in his own way. But at the end of
So
the day,
here's the question. Here's a question, Beto, that Fable JVC says: are we going to win a Super Bowl with Shanahan, though? So I think that's the ultimate question. Do you feel like Shanahan is capable of being the head coach for a Super Bowl winning team?
with
At
the
least
right
here with the
quarterback, yes. With the
okay.
right quarterback, yes. Without the quarterback, no. But it seems like Trey Lance has been wasted. First year, he comes in, they sit him down. They don't take advantage of his rookie year. They sit him down, let him learn behind Jimmy. Second year, okay, now we're giving the team to Trey. This is Trey's team. Second game, he gets hurt. Now we have to wait to next year.
Hmm.
It seems like we're wasting his rookie cap on being undecisive. Is Trey Lance truly going to be the quarterback they can propel Shanahan in winning the Super Bowl? I think Shanahan is capable because he showed it by getting there with a Jimmy Garoppolo. I just think he needs the right quarterback. Now, if you ask me, can we win the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo? No, I don't think we can. Can we win it with Trey? I don't know. I haven't seen enough of Trey to make that decision.
Right. So I look at Kyle Shanahan, and I actually think there's a lot of positives that people overlook as far as him as a coach. The fact that we're even having this conversation 6 years into his tenure, as far as we're talking about it based off of are we racing a Super Bowl caliber team? We're a quarterback away, all of these types of things. I think a lot of people forget about what we were talking about the 49ers when Kyle Shanahan became the head coach. The 49ers were in the news for all the wrong reasons, Beto. We had all of the legal issues. We had locker room issues. We had, obviously the stuff was going on with Kaepernick. Like there was just a lot of turmoil. Ownership and the head coach had issues. Like so, there was just a lot going on that was negative, and we didn't have a team that was even competitive, right? And now we're constantly in the power rankings as one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl. So you got to look at Kyle Shanahan and being like, in a very short amount of time, it was what 3 years till then we were in the Super Bowl with him. He was able to turn around a culture that was really, really toxic. So for me, that's where I give him a lot of props. then too, Beto, you have to look at what do you want out of a coach. Obviously, you want to see success on the field. You want to see championships, all that type of stuff. But you want to see a leader. You want to see somebody that's able to develop talent, not only player wise, but coaching wise. You want to be able to see a tight locker room, and you want to be able to see like just a very strong culture, right? And I would say that Kyle Shanahan checks off all of those boxes. You look at the coaches that he's developed, right? We went from Saleh, he became a coach, for the Jets. McDaniels, now he's the coach of Miami, having success there. Able to replace those guys with a guy like D'Amico Ryans, who looks like he's going to be probably a head coach here pretty soon in the next year or two. They brought in guys like Anthony Lynn, Brian Grease. So it's like the coaching staff has always been very, very good. You look at a lot of the turmoil that this team has had, but you haven't heard too many leaks from the team as far as the culture of the team, there being a splintered locker room, things like that. I mean, we're starting to hear that a little bit more this season, but you've seen it on other teams where it's totally blown up a team with quarterback controversies and stuff like that. You saw that with the Eagles, a couple years ago with the Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts type situation. A coach was lost in that. They traded away, a potential MVP type quarterback, all that kind of stuff. That hasn't happened here with the 49ers. You got to give credit to Kyle Shanahan for that, as well as the head coach, to keep everybody in line. He has a portion to do with the drafting and development of players, obviously. And then lastly, a lot of people look at the offense and are questioning him because the offense isn't where it needs to be. But he also is overseeing that defense, and the defense has been amazing too. So he gets credit for being able to keep that defense elite as well, because he's also coaching that as well. So for me, there's a lot of positives, and I think you hit the nail on the head as far as what it's going to take for it all to come together, Beto, and that is having the right quarterback. Now, I do think it's extremely fair criticism that he still hasn't solved that problem, right? Maybe he mishandled Trey and he should have started him last season. And so that instead of now 2 years away, maybe we're in a year away because he's gotten those reps that he needed as a rookie, right? Maybe he should have gone harder in previous free agencies to go get that solution, whether it would be a Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady, whatever it might have been. Maybe he should have been more aggressive in previous drafts to get, a quarterback so that Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, or even, make moves to try to get, other quarterbacks like a Dak Prescott, right? That was somebody, or that was a possibility in a later round that ended up being a starting caliber quarterback, right? So there's fair criticism that Kyle Shanahan hasn't been able to figure this out as far as the quarterback room. But how long of a rope do you think he gets? At what point is it just, it's not going to work out with this guy in your head, Beto, knowing, the trajectory of where this team was before, knowing the trajectory of how hard it is to get a coach, that could stay for a long time. How long for you as a fan do you give Kyle Shanahan before you say it's time to cut our losses and try to get somebody else?
Well, to your point, before I answer that question, to your point, you brought up all these boxes that so far Kyle Shanahan has checked off in the positive side. He has come in and turned this culture around. He's built a better culture. He's built a team where players want to come and play for. There's the leaks that used to come out of this office were terrible. Leaks were coming out all the time, and now these leaks have stopped. So you're right. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have brought in a new culture. So all these boxes have been checked off, minus the quarterback box. He hasn't really had a quarterback to develop or to work with. Has he mismanaged that? A lot of people can say yes. Should he got a Deshaun Watson instead of getting a Solomon Thomas, instead of wanting to pursue Cousins? People say Patrick Mahomes, although I don't think Patrick Mahomes would have been in play unless, I think the only scouting team that saw him, his abilities, was Kansas City. But Deshaun Watson had to win 2 championships back to back. So there was a pedigree there. Um, and it just seems like he was pursuing uh, Kirk Cousins. Once Jimmy came into their lap, he kind of got away from Kirk Cousins. So, to your question, what length of rope should I give him, based on my opinion? Based on all the boxes that he's checked, Kyle Shanahan has been the best coach we had since Harbaugh. I think once Trey Lance has a full season and plays, I can make that determination from that point on. It's really hard for me to judge Kyle Shanahan or give him a rope when he hasn't had the quarterback that he wants to work with for a full year. So I would have to wait until next year to see Trey Lance a full committed year to see how he is from September to December to kind of have a better assessment of that. So if you ask me this question next towards the end of the next year, I think I can provide you a better answer. Right now, I give him enough rope because I haven't seen Trey Lance in a full year, and he has checked off all the other boxes. It's not like he's a bad coach. It's not like he's not able to control the locker room. It's not like he can't turn the culture around. He's done all that. The only thing he hasn't done is won a Super Bowl because of the lack of a quarterback. So until we see Trey Lance a full year and what he can do with him, would allow me to make that fair assessment, then I can't make it today. So to answer you, I don't know how length that rope is until I see 1 year complete of Trey Lance, in my opinion.
Do you think that if this team, let's say worst case scenario, Beto, this team doesn't make the playoffs this year, right? Obviously, Trey Lance is injured. We don't know how he's going to look after, a pretty severe ankle injury, right? There was ligaments torn, bone break, all that kind of stuff, right? He's still young, right? Very young quarterback. So usually that means that they're going to be a lot healthier, but who knows how it's going to affect his mobility. He still is very raw, right? He needs those reps. He's not like a fully polished quarterback quite yet. We have seen some upside from him, but this is the second year where he's been injured, right? That has affected his ability to play. Do you think if this team doesn't make the playoffs, or let's say it's an early exit in the playoffs, obviously Jimmy is not coming back to this team next year, most likely. Who knows? Nothing's obvious with Jimmy. Yeah. But let's just assume that he goes elsewhere. Do we stick with Trey, or is there a real? Does Kyle Shanahan feel the pressure and say, maybe I need to go out here and get a vet that I know that could come in, learn this offense and play? Because there's no guarantee, like you said, that Trey is going to be ready in 2023, even if he's healthy, because there's a lot he has to work on as a quarterback. He only played 1 year in college. He's sparingly played in the NFL. You can see that there's some things that he really needs to get better at, as far as some accuracy things, some timing things, getting the ball out of his hands a little bit quicker. What would you say if this season is a disappointment, right? And we don't leave this year feeling hopeful. What does Kyle Shanahan do when it comes to quarterback?
Well, that's an interesting question because we went to the NFC Championship last year. So anything other than a NFC Championship appearance is a bust for me, because we have the same team that we had last year, minus a couple players here and there. But let's say we make the NFC. Let's say we make the playoffs, and let's say we win a playoff game, and then we get knocked out. Or let's say if we even make this NFC Championship, but we lose that game, Jimmy is still going to be gone. Jimmy, regardless, is going to, like you said, maybe he might be back, but I doubt it. I really believe he'll be gone. And to your point is, where do we stand with Trey? Is Trey really the guy? I'm going to tell you this offseason is going to be very interesting to watch when it comes to the 49ers, because it will tell us a lot. Because a lot of things Kyle Shanahan is not saying how he truly feels about Trey. We speculate that he likes Trey or he feels comfortable with Trey, but we don't know. He's keeping it close to the vest. But in this offseason, we'll find out. Because if the Niners truly start pursuing veteran quarterbacks that may be available this offseason, it will tell you how they feel about Trey.
Right.
And we'll get a better idea because we don't know what the answer is with Trey. Trey
Right.
can be great for us or he can be a bust. I know people don't want to hear that, but it's the reality. We have a Super Bowl roster with a question mark at the most important position in football, the
Right.
quarterback. And we know that teams win with great quarterbacks. I mean, you'll get the occasions like the Ravens when they won their first Super Bowl with Dilfer. It was a defensive win. Dilfer just kind of managed it, and that's how I kind of see Jimmy G. If we win a Super Bowl this year, it will be because the defense continues to show how good they are, and the run game kicks off, and our special teams, which I think is already better than last year, produces. But I don't know if Trey's the answer, Sunil. And I know a lot of us were hopeful that he is, but it's going to be his 30 year.
Right.
We're going to be entering 2023 and Trey's 30 year, and he hasn't accomplished nothing.
And still not knowing anything, like having
Nothing.
no idea, right? Which is why I think I agree with you. I think it's going to be extremely interesting because if there's pressure on Kyle Shanahan, how much is he willing to risk on somebody that he probably still doesn't know if he's the guy, right? And a bust doesn't even mean like, I know there's this, like, he's either a star or a bust, right? There is something in between there, and that in between, like just an average quarterback or just a serviceable quarterback, maybe that's a bust because of where he was picked, but who knows if that's even what Shanahan wants, right? I think you need somebody that could elevate his offense and be able to execute on an elite level, because he's scheming guys wide open, and it's pretty ridiculous that this offense isn't better than it needs to be when you get your most talented player, Debo, open as often as he's open, especially last week for gimme touchdowns, and there's no execution on that. There's a big problem. So I wonder how much he's gonna feel the pressure, because you mentioned there's a lot of pride, there's a lot of ego, which is for anybody, right? When you're at that level, usually of success, there's a lot of ego and pride involved in getting you to that point. It's going to be interesting to see, depending on how this season goes, what he's willing to risk and how he feels about all of that. I know you mentioned Lamar Jackson. I don't want to get too much into that because that we could go on for hours about talking about that.
Correct.
But let's get off of that, man. I really appreciate your insight and all of that. But there is a game, even though we're talking kind of like a little bit doom and gloom right now, the 49ers, although they're 1-2, after Monday night, they can be in the lead of the NFC West with the win over the Rams. And one thing that's good about the 49ers is in the regular season, they pretty much have dominated the Rams, right? They had won, I think, the last 6 meetings before, obviously, the playoff loss last year in the NFC Championship game. And Kyle Shanahan has just had McVay's number, and that's been with Jimmy, without Jimmy. Like, that's one team that the 49ers could win, and it could be with all the stars there, with some of the stars there. So looking at this team, right, they don't look fully there. But what do the 49ers need to fix immediately, or at least be able to execute on Monday to get back to that dominating the Rams in the regular season?
They need to establish that run game more. They need to establish that run game. They need to scheme that offense to protect Jimmy. It's going to be very interesting to see if McKivitz can really hold that left side and how well he protects against Aaron Donald and Floyd. Um, and it's getting the receivers involved immediately. Get the ball to get the ball to Debo as much as you can. Debo is your playmaker. Debo has shown in the past, especially against the Rams, that he has been very effective. I'm not saying run Debo to the ground as a running back, but scheme him open. I mean, but the to your point too, he has been schemed open by Shanahan, but Jimmy doesn't see him, so it's at no point. Jimmy just needs to be able to get in sync with the receivers. Sunil, he needs to get the ball out of his hands quicker than he has so far, and he just needs to avoid getting throwing an INT or getting sacked. I know things are easier said than done, but if this offensive line can protect him and he's able to get the ball into the playmaker, and honestly, a youth needs to step up a little bit more, and Juwan Jennings needs to step up, and hopefully we'll see more of Jordan Mason in this game to help out Wilson. I don't know if we're going to see Mac or not. Or I know that what's the name came back out of not retirement, but he had
Tevin
a
Coleman, he's
uh,
on the practice
no,
squad.
no, the coach,
Oh, Bobby
Turner,
Turner.
Bobby Turner, and I think that's going to be a lot of help to come in. Uh,
Just like a morale boost.
a morale boost to help Anthony Lynn in that running game, and so a lot of people want to say. I know that JVC said earlier about they should have kept McDaniels instead of Shanahan. I think McDaniels, as good as he is, I don't think he never had control of with this offense. This offense is not spinning around, in my opinion, because he's gone. I just don't believe that. I think that he had his input, but I think Shanahan was always in control of this offense last year as he is this year. So, to your question, and without me being long-winded as I am, is just get the ball in your playmaker's hands and move the ball. If we can score, I think the Niners need to score, at least 2 touchdowns before the halftime in order for our defense to be able to hold the Rams down and win this game. But if we have a couple of three and outs, it's going to be a long day, and I think the defense could get tired by the fourth quarter if we can't move the ball and score.
I agree with you. And, one of the, you mentioned that the running game needs to be established early. And unfortunately, like the Rams defense, I don't think is as good as previous years because they've lost, some key talent.
Well, they're top 5 right now in stopping the run.
But one thing that they're good at is stopping the run, right? They're averaging 3.8 yards per carry to opposing, offenses. Yeah. And the 49ers are averaging 4.5 yards per carry. Yeah. So that's going to be kind of a battle there. But I think that there's ways to, get still like the production of a run without actually running. You know what I mean? Like those quick slants, those quick like out routes to the not out routes, but like, just like wide receiver screens, things like that. Like get Ayuk and Debo the ball and give them a chance to get those yards after carry, because I think that's what's really missing from this offense in the passing game is they're not getting a chance to get yards after the catch. They're getting the ball, and because of the placement from Jimmy or whatever, they're running out of bounds or they're getting tackled immediately because they had to slow down to catch the ball. We need to get and maybe it is just Jimmy getting back on the same page timing wise with these receivers to get them, get the ball to them quickly, which Jimmy is very good at, is getting the ball out of his hands quickly. So get the ball out quickly to a Debo, to an Ayuk, to a Kittle, and maybe get that first and second down production up from those type of plays if the running game isn't able to be efficient early on. Because what we can't end up doing, Beto, is end up in third and long consistently.
Yes.
Because that's what really hurt us last game is the 49ers were 1 in 10 on third downs. If that's another type of situation, Beto, this is going to be a loss because, I mentioned this last season, Beto, this team, 6 out of the 8 losses, including the loss in the playoffs, were within one score, close games, right? And that trend is starting again. the losses have been close games, or even though on the scoreboard it looked bigger against Chicago, that was a very close game till the end, right? If we get into close games, for some reason, this team hasn't shown the character to be able to win that on a consistent basis. So I like what you said, and that's something that I mentioned as well. We have to have a significant lead going into the half, because if that second half, this game is close, I would put my money on the Rams figuring it out before the 49ers figuring it out. And that's just based off of what we've seen as far as the history of this team when it comes to those close games. So I agree with you completely that this team has to start quickly, has to figure some things out. And you give this defense a lead going into the half of like 10 points or so, it's going to be a rough night out for the Rams, because if you have to start playing catch up against this defense, that's the strength of it, right? Their defensive line, now a great secondary that likes that are ball hawks, likes intercepting the ball, likes getting turnovers. It becomes extremely difficult. And the Rams aren't as good as they were before. Matt Stafford has shown a propensity this season to give the ball away, right? He's averaging close to 2 interceptions per game. He's already had 5 on the season through the first 3 games. I would love to see that trend keep going, right? Where he's giving the ball up and getting those turnovers. So this is a very winnable game. And this win, Beto, can change the trajectory of this season, because all of a sudden you go from out of the playoffs to now leading the NFC West with the tiebreaker in hand. So I think it's a big game that's definitely winnable, but it's all about the execution, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and it's containing really Cooper Kupp from their offense, because Robinson hasn't really done much as a free agent, in my opinion. Akers and the other running back they have hasn't been really playing. Henderson haven't been playing very well. It's cool, really. Huckabee is okay. So the Niners haven't Emmanuel Mosley to be put on Cooper Kupp. If they can maintain Cooper Kupp, they can't stop him. But if they can hold him, I think the Niners, this game is very winnable. But you're right. This defense, if it comes in the second half with a lead, they can pin their ears back and go after the quarterback. But if we go into the half with no lead, now that DeMeco Ryans has to scheme differently. He can't just pin his ears back and go after the quarterback. Now they have to play more prevent type of defense, and it's a complete different type of defense. So if we can go in there by 10 points lead, you'll see a different DeMeco Ryans defense compared to maybe going in and we're behind 3 points, or we're behind 7 points.
Or up 3 points, right?
Or up 3 points is not enough. We have, so this it's really going to be up to Jimmy G, honestly, how well he executes this. And I want to see more screens. I want to see a lot of screens to Juice, to Debo, to Ray McLeod on the in and around. Couple of trickeries in there to kind of get this offense going.
Manufacture yards, right? Just manufacture yards. Just get them whatever way. It doesn't have to be the normal ground and pound, whatever it is. Just manufacture yards, keep the chains moving, keep their defense on the field, and get points. I want them to get points on as many drives as possible, because they're really like 28th to 2nd. Like, that's a big. There's no defense no second-ranked defense, first-ranked defense can make up for a 28th ranked offense. Like, there's no, in the NFL, that's not possible. So the offense has to help out this defense as much as possible.
This defense has held in 3 games, 3 teams to only 28 points. Okay, because I'm like the 7 points against Seahawks, that was on special teams, and it was 9 points against the Broncos. Those 2 extra points from Jimmy gave away. Can you imagine only 28 points they have allowed in 3 games? Now, people may say, well, yeah, but look who you played. You play the Bears, you play the Seahawks, and you play the Broncos. Well, you only can play the team on your schedule. For
Right.
this defense to still to hold those three teams to only 28 points, it speaks volumes. So my
Yeah.
point with that said is if we can hold the Rams to low point, but can we manufacture enough points? Because if I told you the Niners, without you watching the game, if I told you the Niners held the Broncos to 11 points, you're thinking we won that game,
Right.
right? Without watching it. But if I told you we lost that game, and you'd be like, how? Because we only manufactured 10. So the Niners do need to put up points. The defense can do their part, but if the offense doesn't do theirs, we're in trouble. But we'll get a good indication on Monday night, bro, where this offense is at.
And this team overall. So Beto, we'll leave it on this one. I know you're not big on predictions, right? Because that's just but I want to, now that I got you on the show, we talked about what we need to see happen for this team to get a victory, right? But in your heart of hearts, seeing what you're seeing and knowing kind of like just where the team is at right now, what do you think actually happens on Monday night?
Man, this is where I need to separate my knowledge of football from my fan base, fanboy, because the guy within me, the rah guy, wants to say 37-17 Niners, right? But watching what I seen on the all 22 and how much we struggle to score, if I have to give a prediction, I'm looking at oh man, I'm saying 17-10 Niners if we get lucky enough to score. But it's gonna be an ugly. People think anybody thinks it's gonna be a high scoring game, and if it is, and I'm wrong, and we win, I'm good with that. But it's gonna be another ugly game, offensive, because both defenses will be able to stop both offenses. But if we can muster 17 points, the Niners have shown that they can hold other teams to low score points. So I think we need at least, if we can get, this is just my belief, if we can get 21 points, we win the game.
Mm-hmm.
Just how good our defense has played. But 17 is what I give.
So you feel like the 49ers are going to pull this one out?
Yes, if yes, I think they will pull it out. A lot of it has to do with the offense, but again, if we get 21 points, I guarantee we'll win. So I doubted the Rams will get that much points on this defense, but yes, I take the Niners, not just because I'm a Niner fan, and it's a hard one because it can go either way. But I take it 17-10 Niners.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm usually the optimistic 49er fan, and I'm going out here and super rah-rah and always finding the
It's
silver
hard,
lining.
I know.
But in this game, I just think there's a lot of things that need to be overcome, and I don't think the 49ers are going to, unfortunately, figure it out. And we didn't talk about it, but Trent Williams being out is a big loss, even though we've seen this team beat the Rams without Trent Williams there, with Colton McKivitz as that. That's something to overcome. On top of Jimmy, we don't know how he's going to come out. On top of the Rams have the confidence that they could beat this team, because when it all mattered, they ended up getting the victory last year and winning the Super Bowl. So I think that there's just a lot going against the 49ers. And until I see this offense consistently be able to put up points, my money's going to be on they don't. Because I've just seen it too many games, Beto, especially in the beginning half of the season. This offense is too inconsistent, and I don't know. So I do think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I actually have it probably like 14-10 with the Rams winning. And yeah, I think it's going to be another frustrating day in the office for a 49er fan. But I do hope that I am wrong, but that's just how I'm feeling on Saturday, 2 days away from the game, that I think that the 49ers end up losing this game based off of where they're at right now.
Who knows? Maybe the defense gets a pick six to help out the offense a little bit.
We need that for sure.
Hufanga leading the charge, right? Wouldn't that
Right.
be beautiful? Hufanga getting a P6 and running it down and getting the Niners 7 points.
Yeah, the defense might be able to win this. If the defense could start scoring in special teams, they could win this game without the offense even putting up points with
Yeah,
how
just
good
take
they
it
are.
for a little ride. Just put on your pom poms, Jimmy, and just start, showing some love that way. And you know what? Any Niner fan that says that, oh, Sunil, how can you pick against the Niners? What kind of a Niner fan are you? I would call you a realistic Niner fan, not a all in my feelings. Because I hate to say this, but a lot of Niner fans, they're in their feelings.
Right,
They don't see it for what it is. Now, I picked the Niners because I think the Niners, I think Kyle Shanahan will dig deep into his bag, and he knows that losing another game to a division foe is not good. So it's or losing it to a division foe is not good. So I think he will come out with his best punches. How successful it will be, I don't know, but it can go either way. For me to sit there and go, man, how can dare you pick the Rams? I came close because as much as we dislike the Rams, realistically, they're playing better football than we are.
right.
And their defense is all right, and their offense is moving the ball way better than we are. So realistically, for me to sit there and call you like, what kind of Niner fan are you? You're realistic. So anybody watching your show that hears you pick the Rams to win, I would just want to let them know you're being realistic, and I don't fault you for that. I came close uh, to doing so myself, and if the Rams win, I'm not going to be shocked or at all because of the way our offense. But I tell you what, the first quarter is going to show us a lot
Right.
in that game in which direction we're going. It's either going to give us confidence or it's going to make us cry and eat some chocolate because this offense, man. So we'll have to wait and see. But hopefully, Sanu, it's a repeat of history repeating itself. We came off a bad game against Arizona. Nobody counted us to win the Rams last year. The Rams were coming in way better than they are today
Hmm.
uh, this season, and we blew their doors off in that game. Now the Niners offense was struggling back then as well. So we'll have to wait
Yeah,
and see. Hopefully, history will repeat itself, right?
absolutely, man. From your lips to God's ears, my brother. Well, it's been a great show, Beto. Thank you so much for coming on. You're one of my
I'm
favorite people
honored.
to
I'm
chop it up
honored.
with, man. It was a really, really great show. I put the link to your YouTube channel in the description.
Oh, I
I know you
appreciate
you
that.
came out with a couple of shows this week, but I know you're kind of your schedule is kind of just whenever you feel like it. But I just want to give you the chance. Is there anything you need to plug? Anything that you want to say about your channel or how guys could get in contact with you?
I appreciate that. Yeah, people that know me, they know that everybody does their channels for different reasons, and I applaud everyone for working hard and making their channels grow. I'm retired. To me, this is nothing but an entertainment for me. That's why I go on and I just like the way I tell people is like going to a barber shop, putting your feet up and getting a haircut and just talking football. That's what I like to do. I don't bring a lot of stats or all these breakdowns. I just like to jab. So if you are someone that just loves to talk 49er football, I engage with my viewers. I like to go live a lot on my own because I like to engage my viewers one on one. So if you love just to talk football and you're bored, I come on. If you follow me on YouTube under NinersSicknessPodcast, make sure to have the description up because I don't have planned schedules. I'm bored. I just want to go on. If let's see who joins me, type of shows that I do, Sunil. So thank you for plugging me in. Though you can follow me on Twitter and on IG and YouTube under Niners Sickness Podcast. Also, I just started TikTok. I do rants, and
Nice.
I'm gonna start doing characters on TikTok and acting like a fool. So if you want to see an old man act like a fool, make sure to subscribe to my TikTok because I guarantee you, if I make no sense, at least I'll make you laugh.
I love it. Well, Beto, you're always welcome on this channel. Guys, thank you so much in the chat section for keeping us engaged and staying engaged in it. Love all of you guys. Please have a safe weekend. Like I say, stay safe, stay hydrated, and most of all, have a great day. We'll talk again very soon, guys. Go Niners.